The coordinated terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on September 11, 2001, marked a pivotal moment in modern history, reshaping global politics, security policies, international relations, and societal attitudes. The ensuing war on terror, initiated by the United States and supported by various allies, aimed to dismantle terrorist networks like Al-Qaeda and other militant organizations to prevent future acts of terrorism. However, this global campaign also gave rise to widespread Islamophobia, significantly impacting Muslim communities worldwide. In this episode, we critically examine the post-9/11 war on terror and its relationship with the surge in Islamophobia, exploring the socio-political dynamics and implications of these intertwined phenomena. The war on terror was officially declared by President George W. Bush in the aftermath of 9/11, with the primary objectives of eradicating terrorist organizations, notably Al-Qaeda, and ensuring national and global security. This war manifested through military interventions in Afghanistan in 2001 and Iraq in 2003, alongside a broader strategy encompassing surveillance, intelligence sharing, and diplomatic efforts. The invasion of Afghanistan aimed to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban regime that harbored the terrorist group. While initial military success was achieved, the prolonged conflict led to complex challenges, including a resilient Taliban insurgency and widespread instability. The Iraq War, justified by claims of weapons of mass destruction and alleged links to terrorism, resulted in the overthrow of Saddam Hussein. However, the absence of weapons of mass destruction and the ensuing chaos fostered a breeding ground for extremist groups like ISIS. Domestically, the US implemented measures such as the USA Patriot Act, which expanded surveillance capabilities and enhanced law enforcement powers. Internationally, the war on terror led to increased cooperation among nations in intelligence sharing and counter-terrorism efforts. However, these policies often blurred the lines between security and civil liberties, raising concerns about privacy, due process, and human rights. Islamophobia, defined as the irrational fear or prejudice against Islam and Muslims, surged in the post-9/11 era. This phenomenon is deeply rooted in historical biases and stereotypes, but the events of 9/11 and subsequent terrorist attacks intensified its prevalence. Media played a crucial role in shaping public perceptions of Islam and Muslims. Sensationalist coverage of terrorist attacks and the frequent use of terms like Islamic terrorism perpetuated negative stereotypes. The portrayal of Muslims as monolithic and inherently violent contributed to the stigmatization of entire communities, fostering fear and mistrust. Political discourse often exacerbated Islamophobia. Statements from influential leaders and policymakers framed terrorism as a clash of civilizations, pitting the West against Islam. This rhetoric not only alienated Muslim populations, but also legitimized discriminatory policies and practices, both domestically and internationally. The rise in Islamophobia had profound social and economic consequences for Muslim communities. Hate crimes against Muslims increased, with incidents of vandalism, assault, and even murder becoming more common. Discrimination in employment, education, and public spaces further marginalized Muslims, reinforcing socioeconomic disparities and limiting opportunities for integration and advancement. The war on terror and Islamophobia are intricately linked, with each phenomenon influencing and reinforcing the other. The securitization of Muslim identities under the guise of counter-terrorism measures contributed to the normalization of Islamophobia, while widespread fear and prejudice against Muslims bolstered support for aggressive counter-terrorism policies. Counter-terrorism strategies often involved profiling and targeting Muslim individuals and communities. Practices such as surveillance of mosques, detention without trial, and racial profiling at airports created an environment of suspicion and fear. This securitization framed Muslims as potential threats, eroding trust between Muslim communities and state authorities. The pervasive narrative equating Islam with terrorism normalized Islamophobic attitudes and behaviors. Policies like travel bans on Muslim-majority countries and the establishment of Guantanamo Bay detention camp were justified under the pretext of national security, despite violating fundamental human rights principles. Such actions signaled to the public that discrimination against Muslims was acceptable, further entrenching Islamophobia in societal norms. The post-9/11 war on terror and the rise of Islamophobia are deeply interwoven phenomena with far-reaching implications. While the war on terror aimed to enhance global security, its execution often undermined civil liberties and exacerbated prejudices against Muslims. Islamophobia, fueled by media representation, political rhetoric, and discriminatory policies, not only marginalized Muslim communities, but also hindered effective counter-terrorism efforts by alienating potential allies in the fight against extremism. A critical re-evaluation of the strategies and narratives surrounding the war on terror is essential to address these issues. Moving forward, a balanced approach that prioritizes security without compromising human rights and promotes dialogue and understanding over fear and division is crucial. Only through such measures can we hope to build a more just and inclusive society, free from the shadows of terrorism and prejudice. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to our channel, Sociopedia.